Lack of mental health care is one of the biggest public health crises of our time, and unfortunately is impacting overwhelmingly our precious children and young adults. At any given time, 1 in 5 of our kids is suffering from a diagnosable mental health disorder. In fact, mental illness is one of the most common childhood diseases, and we have no vaccines. Half of us will experience a mental illness in our lifetime. 50% of the time that will happen before we turn 14. Before we even leave middle school, 75% of the time that would happen before we turn 24. Right in that sweet spot, we were transitioning from being a kid to becoming an adult. Most parents would rather cut off their own hand than let their child suffer, and yet billions of our kids are suffering alone because they and we lack information we need. As a result, only a third of them are getting treatment. Many of those who remain untreated will suffer profound consequences to their lives. They will fail or drop school. They will become addicted or involved in juvenile justice system. They would flounder and fighting their way as an adult. But we have the answer for these problems, and we can address it through early intervention. We can provide access to mental health care beginning in our grade school. We teach our kids, their parents, their teachers, and other staff working in schools how to recognize when a child is sick and get them help. We will let children language. They will be identified and they will be taken care of. We want our kids to have all the information and support they can get in order to be healthy and reach their potential in their life. In order to get them this, we are going to have around 2 big barriers. The first is lack of access. Today, a quarter of us has no mental health care providers in health insurance network, and 56% of counties in the United States have no licensed mental health care provider at all. Now, what do you think it accounts it lacks of resources? I think it's our second big barrier, stigma. We are prisoners of stigma that developed thousands of years ago, long before modern science established indisputably that mental illness is the result of a complex interaction between genetics, environment, brain functioning. We are still influenced by fear and ignorance that causes treat mentally in hazardous way, drilling holes in our skull, let them demons escape, and bloodletting to rebalance bodily humors, and locking them away in asylums to keep us safe from them. But this is the 21st century. We decoded the human genome. We have brain imaging technology, yet stigma prevails, and parents are some of the worst propagators of continuing that stigma. Parents gossip about the other parents, about other parents' sick kids. They ascribe character flaws to kids who are sick, including their own. That tell the child not to play with other child because he or she gets moody. And parents keep secrets. When their own child is sick, they will refuse services at school and tell the child not to tell anyone about his or her diagnosis. That's no one's business. Now there's real care 22 for child. So Sarah suffered depression, and her mother says she can see the counselor at school or tell her friends or teachers that she is suffering. Sarah's mom is stigmatizing depression, and Sarah was stigmatizing comment like worsening her depression. But stigma is just ignorance, and we can overcome lack of that access and stigma. We can do this using early intervention. We can teach mental health literacy in our grade schools. Stigmatizing.